Hi, dear language learners. Have you ever wondered why some things stick in your brain forever and other things you just keep forgetting them? Hi, I'm Dr. Alex. Welcome back to the channel. I'm a social psychologist. I'm the author of the Everyday Nano method, and I'm a polyglot. I speak 4 languages fluently, and I'm currently learning Italian, my 5th language. And I share with you on this channel all the essential hacks from social psychology that you need to know to actually accelerate your language learning and to finally speak with that unshakable confidence. So today, this is actually a really, really interesting topic close to my heart, and it will actually, knowing this will actually enable you to not only accelerate your learning, but also you will be able to include this hack into any study program you might have, even an intensive study program. Actually, I'm also responding with this video to one of your excellent questions. One of you, dear viewers, have asked me this question. So, Dr. Alex, I really appreciate your Everyday Nano method, but how can we actually combine it with intensive study programs? And that is such a relevant and interesting and important question because most of us language learners have some sort of goal, right? I mean, I had that with French and English. When I studied them first, I had an objective of passing an exam, of using it for my job, of changing countries and getting up to speed really quickly. And intensive study programs usually have high loads of study content in a short period of time. So the question is, how can we then use the Everyday Nano method in such a way that it actually helps us to accelerate that learning? And the answer is, I mean, the big conclusion is the Everyday Nano method is perfect for leveraging your intensive study method. I mean, it's perfect for any learning. In fact, what you can do with this is, if you know that mechanism, you can speed up anything that you want to retain for the long term. It's actually enabling you to understand better how we're wired socially, how we're wired social psychologically, and how our brain then kicks from passive study mode into an active, I need to memorize this mode. Okay, so let's start first of all with that mechanism. And then as a second step, I will explain to you how to combine that with your study program. And as always, if you haven't yet, have a check out on my website. Check out my website, I should have rather said. Well, you know what I mean. Check out my website for the perfect study routine. I have actually developed a short, concise study routine planner that helps you to move things around in your study routine in such a way that it fits perfectly your everyday life kind of, routine. And that also, it enables you to integrate studying a language with your real life. I'm not saying intensive study programs don't have a real life. I'm just saying you need to have a study routine. Okay, so the mechanism goes like this. Whenever your brain thinks that something matters really to your life, it encodes it more deeply. It actually switches to a different memorization mode because your brain is in the mode of, oh my God, this is important to survive. This is something that matters to my life and to my, especially, and this is from social identity theory and social psychology. I will, as always, in the description, you will find the scientific references. Social identity theory that was developed in the early 1960s and 70s says whatever you believe of yourself or what you construct of yourself socially that belongs to the way in which you see your identity in relation to others has the utmost meaning and will be memorized. So knowing this means, and now this is the important part, translating this to language learning or to any kind of learning means that you need to change the order. Meaning that if you study content, for example, you're on an intensive study program and you have this dialogue and vocabulary list to learn. Okay. You need to change the order. You need to, first of all, before you actually dive in and study that without thinking about it, you need to think about one thing, which is how could that matter to my real life? So, for example, if you have a lesson on, let's say, different items in a house, you need to think, okay, when do I next time redecorate my house? When do I next time clean my house? And then actually think, okay, what do I normally say and communicate when I do that in my mother tongue or any other language you speak? And create a meaningful context where you can apply this to your life. And then in that context or with that intention of using it, in that kind of structure, you learn it. So whatever the book or the source gives you as a structure, you need to restructure it for your own life. That is number one. Number two, as you all know, the Everyday Nano means Everyday Nano program has also at its core that it's better to have short nano sessions than long sessions of hours of studying vocabulary or grammar. Now, that of course is not always possible. I see your point. Thank you again for the comment in terms of intensive study programs. But what you can do is you can go into hybrid learning. That's the second principle. You can go to hybrid learning, meaning you can study that huge amount of whatever the study program gives you as content, but you can combine it, and that's the nano element, with a small nano element snippet out of your own life, and then do what I said in principle one, which is apply it to your own life, give meaning to it. And if you don't have an application for your own life, you might then, and that's another trick, create meaning by looking for a study buddy, by talking to ChatGPT or talking to somebody online or another person who speaks the language already to create a social situation. Even if you don't have an application for your own life, you might create a social situation, and by creating that, by having a real communication, even just with ChatGPT or any other AI tool, you create meaning through experiencing it. So that is the second principle. Hybrid learning in that sense means, okay, I have now studied half an hour different objects of the house. Let's apply that in a social conversation about my house compared to any other house, or let's just have a chat about house decoration, right? And if you've watched my previous videos, I do that when I don't have a study buddy, or if I don't have a social situation or meaning in my own life about it. I do that with ChatGPT. I just practice and imagine the situation so that I can have an application and an experience. As soon as you have a social experience of anything, your brain will memorize more. So this is what I mean by hybrid learning, connected to some sort of social experience or meaning. And this means you need to actually redesign your study routine. So that requires a bit of rearrangements, if you know what I mean. So you need to kind of look at what you have in your study program and say, okay, how can I rearrange that in such a way that I can connect some sort of conversation, social experience, or application to my own life with it. And now the nano learning element comes in through that. It doesn't mean actually that you need to have to break up your intensive study program into small nano elements. It actually just means that you need to have a nano element of a real lived experience. And this is why in my current Italian learning, and you've seen that in my previous videos, I always imagine first the situation, then I have a social dialogue about it, and then I apply it by speaking it out loud immediately. The speaking out loud, and that's the third principle, needs to be in there because after all, we're talking about language here. So your brain will only really register it once you have spoken it at least once. And then, of course, as you know, my previous videos, I actually recommend at least 7 times you need to repeat it. So repetition is so important. And I hear you. I mean, the intensive study program question is so important because sometimes we just don't have the time to cram it all in. And how to break that up and have a natural flow about it is really hard. But what I can guarantee you, if you try to at least have and a social application or a social dialogue about a small part of what you're studying, you will have a higher success rate because your brain then shifts from passive study into active memorization. I will drop for you as well the scientific references for those of you who are interested, also to read it up, because it's really, I mean, social psychology so much changed my life because it made me realize that it's all about social encounters. It's all about sense making in social situations. It's all about social interaction, and learning is actually happening. It's our way of living. Learning is happening all the way. So if we combine that even with language learning a new language, we double the effect of what our brain is doing in everyday life, interacting with other human beings. So let me know, as always, drop me a comment how this makes sense. I will actually expand on that element of the everyday nano technique in my next videos. And also, obviously, I will publish more of those videos studying Italian. So those of you who are also studying Italian, I always invite you to join me. This is an adventure. I set myself the goal of being fluent in Italian in 2 years. So let me know in the comments as well where you stand with your Italian practice and how you go about it. Let's exchange on this wonderful platform and let's study languages together. Thanks for having spent this moment with me, and see you in the next video.